Lots of reaction to Liverpool's remarkable comeback at St James's Park when they were just 10 men against Newcastle, and they still won this game 2-1 with late goals from Darwin Núñez. It was an amazing comeback, and we do want to talk about it. Obviously, we talked about it yesterday, but it was a super entertaining game, Craig.
It was if you're a Liverpool fan. And look, that's 2 bad weeks for Newcastle. One at the Etihad where they were schooled, and this one where they weren't so much schooled, but really shot themselves in the foot from a position of strength with the red card. Failed miserably to dominate and really work Liverpool with their extra man and the possession, and really should have had Liverpool chasing all around. Failed miserably in the final third to kill the game off. Almiron a little unlucky with the one that came off the post, but I'm thinking Harvey Barnes when he came on, running down the left-hand side, a simple ball across to the other sub, Callum Wilson. Yep. The game's dead and buried, and they're hesitant and just kept giving Liverpool opportunities to get back in. And a brilliant 10-man display from them with 2 stunning goals from Darwin Núñez. Everybody talked about it yesterday. This has to be the catapult in confidence now for this young man. You know, to go on from here, whether he starts every week or not, but to go on from here and use those 2 goals, those 2 winning goals, as a booster for his confidence, because that's all it can be. He's got the pace, he's got the physicality. We know he can score goals. He's just been rushing things. Yesterday's second 13, he came on, I think, 87 minutes or something like that. Those 2 finishes were something special.
Like you said, Dan asked yesterday to Stevie if this is a defining moment for this player. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think every great player for every club has a moment in which they become a player for the club. A player that is now accepted by the fans and now becomes part of the history of the club. Well, I think this is that moment for Darwin Núñez. He has scored goals for Liverpool before, but not in this kind of setting, not with this kind of pressure, not in this kind of environment, and under the circumstances that Liverpool were facing against Newcastle yesterday. The quality of the goals, Craig just mentioned it, and we talked about it yesterday as well. It's of a world-class striker. We haven't seen that from him with consistency, and at times whether he puts himself in those positions, he's just unable to find that little bit of calmness. And that calmness comes from confidence, and confidence comes from productivity. And in productivity, in moments that matter, you have to imagine that that creates a much clearer picture for him in front of goal. What we saw from him yesterday is a guy that had no doubt as to what he was going to do when he got himself in the final third. You get enough of that from Darwin Núñez, he's going to score a bunch of goals for Liverpool. This was his moment in which he became a true Liverpool player.
Does he start for them then, Craig?
Yeah. I mean, why not build on that momentum? I mean, it's not like he scored 2 goals against Luton Town at home. It's against a team that's going to be challenging for the top 4. Of course, Liverpool will be hoping they're challenging for the title. I've got my doubts about that. But certainly these 2 teams are going to be battling it out, amongst others, for the top 4. They're down to 10 men. They're away from home. They're at St James's Park. It's a huge game. And, you know, if you're on the bench the next game, you knock on your manager's door and say, what do you have to do? So, you know, I think Jurgen Klopp will try and use this as a springboard for Darwin Núñez. And let's be honest, they haven't exactly got a bundle of players in that position that can do things like that. You know, the soul Firmino. You know, the goals have to come from a false 9 in Gakpo or Salah or Luis Diaz, who went off yesterday as a consequence of the sending off. So he absolutely needs somebody in this position that can deliver like that. And yeah, why not? He needs to get a run of games. It's important.
What did we learn about Newcastle after this game, Shaka?
I think Newcastle are believing a lot of their own hype, in all honesty. And Craig mentioned the City game, and I just wonder how much of Newcastle's approach had to do with City and the way they played, the kind of slower, more strategic way they play the game. Because while Eddie Howe has been criticised for his substitution patterns late on, and maybe rightly so, I thought the damage was done much earlier on. And again, Craig spoke about it. Liverpool were down to 10 men. At no point did I think Newcastle upped the tempo of their approach. That made Liverpool work harder than they needed to. And in the end, Liverpool were just allowed to sit back, get men behind the ball, and break when they had to. And I don't feel at any point that Liverpool were stretched, were tested, or made to work. And in the end, what you're doing is kind of, and this was a counter to what I was saying about Manchester City against Newcastle. For all the domination of the game and much they kept the ball, it was still 1-0. And while you could question Newcastle for not taking more chances, they were still in the game. Liverpool was still in the game, and Newcastle didn't kill them off. And while it took a unlucky bounce of the back and then heel of Botman for the first goal to come, Newcastle kept Liverpool in the game. And for me, that kind of was reflective of what you saw last week from City, when Newcastle maybe aren't anywhere near as good at City as doing exactly that.
I know we're talking about Núñez and Liverpool's shape. What we should briefly remember is that in the first half, we saw one of the best saves you're probably going to see all season from Alisson.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, absolutely outstanding to be able to get that onto the frame of the goal and then get it away. And you know, the goals are the headlines, but moments like that, you know, Newcastle might have went on at that point, you know, 2-0, you know, fire on, kick on, kill Liverpool off. So little moments like that, Alisson with one of the saves, best saves I think you'll see for the rest of this year.
Talking about moments like that, what's it like back in a training session after you've been the losing side in a game like that, where you were ahead, you're up against a side that were a man down, you were at home? How easy is it to reset?
Wait, listen, nobody wants to see mopers. I mean, I'm sorry. I know a moper when I see one.
What?
And you don't. But listen, in the dressing room, the last thing you need is to be coming in and feeling sorry for yourself. Like, you go home as an individual after a game, and if you've had a bad one, you beat yourself up about it. Most people do. You know, you miss chances, or you make a mistake in the middle of the park, whatever it is, you sort of beat yourself up about it. But then you come in, you have a bit of banter with the guys again, you pick yourself up because you know you're a good side. Newcastle are a good side. They've maybe just got a little bit ahead of themselves after the 5-1 victory, match day 1 against Aston Villa, which, by the way, for long periods was actually a proper football match, until Villa lost Mings and Newcastle and Villa imploded, which maybe painted a slightly rosier picture for Newcastle than people thought. But it's about picking yourself back up, right? And maybe the partnership of Tonali and Guimaraes in midfield has got a lot more work than people think. Maybe the fact that last year Willock and Longstaff, two unsung heroes, did a lot better job than people thought, and all of a sudden you're signing these bigger stars and these guys are on the bench. I mean, Longstaff did a great job for them last year in the middle of the park. So did Willock. So it's sometimes difficult to move on. We've signed Tonali from Milan and this is the way we're going to go. It doesn't always quite work like that. Look at Arsenal. Arsenal just think the Havertz thing will come in. We've talked about it, and it's not working at the moment. And I think from Newcastle, they've slightly got away from what they've done really well in the last 18 months, and that's a challenge for them.
A couple of things that are important when a situation like this happens. The big personalities in the locker room have to show up. And the first day back to training, these guys have to be up and getting everybody going with their personalities. You don't have to act any differently than you were a week ago. And the assistant coaches become an important part for a locker room when something like this happens. You're not always going to get conversation with the actual manager, but the assistant coaches are the ones that are sort of getting that information from the manager to the players, and they are the ones that are making that connection, and they are the ones that are going to have to be sort of the help that they need in assisting, kind of jump-starting the team once again. Big personalities from the players, assistant coaches doing their job, and they should be ready to go this weekend.
These two results...
Brighton next. Brighton next.
Brighton have just lost. But as I was saying the other day, I think on Saturday, Brighton have got that in them every now and again. They're still going to be a tough nut to crack. This calls for an early season bonding night out in Newcastle. Now, I believe there's a man on this show with us who knows a bit about that.
Let me just say, if I was in charge with the bonding session, we'd have no problems for the rest of the season. None whatsoever.
He knows all the haunts in Newcastle and the surrounding area. The Shaka in the whole of the northeast, I've been told.
Oh, too
Still
bad
a
he's not
legend
allowed
of
out of
those
the
parts.
house.
Still a legend.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.